here we are at Evesham, the second scenario, final, out of Simon Says. I love the graphics. So this is the scenario that indicates the end of Simon de Montfort. The goal here, I already kind of briefly babbled a little bit about the rules and the Men of Iron connection and all that. The goal here is for Simon to bust through the royalist forces in either direction, either to the north or across the river, because Lord Mortimer's over here. Earl of Mortimer, I think. We have Prince Edward over here. He's trying to free his father. I believe his father has been captured. Is held prisoner. Edward was held prisoner for a while too. And then Gloucester, he was on the other side in the other battle. It's the same Gloucester. He's swung to support the prince now. And de Montfort has a kill level of only 15. The royalists don't have one. They can't be defeated here. The goal is to get 15 strength points off one of the map edges. Well, either off the road back here or off the northern map edge. I think you can actually go off this entire side before you lose 15 kill points. So I just have to keep track of 2 scores, right? The same as before, just different 2 scores. What we got is de Montfort's main little wedge up here. Edward's got some cav posted on the 2 flanks, and I'm seeing more or less the flanks are the weak point, and I'm going to want to kind of try to pivot to head towards those. He's of course got to worry about his banner, which is worth 5 points out of that 15. He's got these Welsh here, some of which are kind of guarding the bridge, rear guard. The river is impassable, both of them. What else do we have? The little buildings down here don't mean anything. They suggest getting rid of the command roles because the formations are too large, but then kind of say, up to you, man. The Welsh. Whenever you activate the Welsh, you got to roll a die. Cut it in half, rounding down, and that's how many Welsh disappear. They're just not willing to stand and fight in this condition. We do have one interesting thing here, which is Welsh longbowmen. May or may not have been here. Hard to tell. They were certainly bowmen. It's whether or not they qualified as longbows. Any little bit that de Montfort can use here is helpful. They suggest getting rid of the Welsh rule if you're trying to play this at all competitively, but of course I'm not. Well, I only have 2 commands with the baronials, and they go first. I'm going to start things off actually by triggering the Welsh, and we'll give them their horrible, hey, they get away for free. And I'm going to charge them towards that side. I'm looking at the 2 leaders. Edward's a little bit better than Gloucester. So I'm figuring by making Gloucester unable to react, I can punch a hole through him more easily. I'd love to trigger Mortimer and fight my way across the bridge. There's 2 things against that. One is Mortimer has very little chance of succeeding. He needs a 2. So I'm going to wait until there's failures to use him. He also has a penalty crossing the bridge. There's a -3 penalty because of the defensive capability. So the units across the bridge might be tough to dislodge from there. So instead I swung in with Edward, who I got initiative with. And, well, we've charged up on these bowmen. Actually, these guys are taking a shot. Let's see. Those are short bowmen, I believe. Gotta kind of look at the icon to tell what they are. Which means they'll just have +1 against the infantry. It gives them a 0. And a 3 is attack disordered, but that's not going to affect the bowman. So now we get attacked. And the attack is at +1 for strength. Plus another one for the prince. That puts it to +2. -1 for infantry attack. +2 for the value of the defender. -1 for going uphill. And +4 for hitting from 2 different angles, frontal and flank, which gets us a total of +6 on them. And that's not very good, but it's enough to disorder them, which is about the most you can usually do anyway. You can see you kind of have a two-step situation, and you got to get the first step to get to the other one. Alright, well, now I would be able to swing my choice, and I get to announce who I'm going to go for. If I go with Gloucester and he attacks, maybe giving up a good defensive position that way. If I go with Mortimer, chances are I'm going to be failing anyway. So I'll go with Gloucester, who doesn't have that great a chance. But he gets to activate. I have to do something with him according to Men of Iron, but not according to this game. Not that I know of. And it always seemed kind of cheap with Men of Iron because you could always find something stupid to do. Yeah, it looks like I don't actually have to. Oh, you're in command as long as you keep connection. Huh. I think I want to push forward anyhow, don't I? I think so. Buster did not succeed as well. He took some arrow shot here. I also pushed forward a little further because I want to get those archers up against the Welsh there, and I've got the cav kind of flanking. Remember, leadership doesn't leadership location doesn't matter. This guy gets to attack in the flank of these guys, though. And I will be attacking at +1 for leader, -1 for infantry attack. +2 for position, +2 for the type of unit I'm hitting, -1 for uphill, sounds like +3 total. And we get more than a 9, which is a disorder, and a retreat. There's no zones or anything to interfere, so we'll just push forward. Oh, that one is not attacking. That's not allowed to. These guys will. And I think Simon is going to attempt to activate at this point because he gives me the best chance. And he succeeds. And we're going to try to punch into Gloucester. Simon shifts his force charging here. Now, because he's going in this direction, he doesn't have to deal with this unit. This one's going to continue fighting here. These guys can't attack. These guys came from too far to have an effective charge, but they can still hit. And then the infantry, which some of it is getting shot at by that crossbowman. I should have taken care of that already, but +2 make it, I'm sorry, yeah, +2 for crossbow, -1 makes it +1. A 6, that's going to disorder them and prevent one of the units from hitting. I've kind of gotten in the way of, by the way, I was able to interpenetrate through archers. You're able to move pike and cav through the archers without a problem. I should probably move this out of the way a little bit, just so it doesn't get killed. And these guys probably want to fall back as well. Although they're not worth a whole hell of a lot. By the way, Gloucester got killed by the archer fire that took place here. We're going to get a replacement in for him as soon as this activation is done. And I've got a number of attacks to make. I'm going to step away, so that I can do them off. The net result, one of Simon's cav that smacked here got a terrible result. Ended up getting a retreat, and it couldn't comply with it. There's no rules as to what happens there. What I figure is the tightly packed situation would force them to their deaths on those pikes. Elsewhere we see this guy broke through and destroyed an English unit, but that doesn't mean anything at all. I get to put the Gloucester unit down. He doesn't mean much. Put him with the infantry, the replacement for him. And now we're going to see if we can get Edward to activate. And we do, and he should be slamming into Simon here. And this is going to be, I think, a fairly quick one, actually. Launching attacks all across the line. They did some fire coming in a number of places. He's more or less cursed me here. The only thing going really in my advantage is the banners right here. But de Montfort's going to need to activate again, try to get that out of Edward's range. Alternatively, I could try to let one of Edward's crappy people do it, and then it'll fall on me, and that's even more likely. So Edward's going to try to trigger Gloucester, I guess, and he fails, which means I can move to Montfort, and we'll see what I can do to get him out of there. Montfort tries to pull back. He's having real trouble because it's such a clusterfuck right here. He's got disorganized units. He can't get these guys out of his cav out of there to recover. But let's see if he can punch a bit of a hole here, because if he can, maybe he's got a chance of getting out. He had a real problem, though. You can see a couple of dead units. Those came from trying to move into this hex and just taking fire from the crossbow and the regular bowman. Not a lot of effect, and the Brits are going to let de Montfort roll for Llewellyn here, which is a failure. And that's going to hand things over. I don't know which person I want to trigger. As it stands right now, I kind of like the Gloucester line, so I think I'm going to trigger Edward. Another option would be to try to bring Mortimer through. I just don't think he has much chance. He'd be hitting with cav without a charge. It's like -4 on the table. I just don't see how to get through that crap. Some places we've kind of punched through, up here, where we were hitting archers and such. But overall, well, it didn't go too well for us. And now, again, I think our best chance is to force Gloucester to roll. Yeah, because Gloucester is no longer Gloucester, certainly. And that's a failure even with a 3. Which means I get to choose whether to take Mortimer or the Welsh. The Welsh are kind of cool with their bow fire. I think I'm going to trigger them. But I lose 4 of them. Now these don't cost against my points though. Fire actually takes out Prince Edward. However, an attempt to try to hit some of these archers, disarmed another Welshman, killed one here. We're down to only 5 points left. That means if the banner goes, it's over. And Edward's going to try to trump in at this point. And he fails, which means Montfort gets a shot. Montfort's got something of an opening there. If I can get another activation or so, I might be able to get some of those points out of there. But right now, I'm being forced to check to see if Llewellyn wants an activation. And he does. That's kind of cool. Let's see if we can slip by. Bit of repositioning down here. Some successful attack. Pulled the bowman back to help cover the standard. That's too important. That's the game right there. And this bowman failed. He did some fire. Now Edward gets to take another shot and take command. And he succeeds this time. So we have to see whether or not whether or not he can score 5 more points. Sorry. No. Edward wouldn't succeed. I can't try to trump. I shouldn't have done that. See if Montfort succeeds, because I've got a better chance of getting an initiative off Montfort. And no, either way, it's going to work out the same. Montfort's going to try to get out of there. Montfort's able to swing through and strike at the rear and flanks of a number of these units. He also recovered his own unit. His other forces are pulling back. If he can bust this line up enough, he can probably escape with his points, assuming he doesn't get caught too quickly, because he doesn't have a lot of points left himself. But right now it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 plus 3 for Montfort. I'm 2 points short with what's already back there, and that would kind of just be able to run for the border. So I gotta find something else to get slipped through. I should have been trying to slip this through, because that's a lot of points. And we pretty much bust up that English line everywhere. I'm gonna take a little break at this point. Put this with Montfort, I guess, if I can remember that's him. Take the red tie off. That'll help me remember. And I don't know. It's getting close enough that I might be able to pull off a victory. Hence, reversing both games, which I always think is cool when that happens. Right now, we're at a point where I got to roll for Llewellyn to see if I get an action. Otherwise, the English get the action, and they might be able to stop me. So I succeeded with the Llewellyn roll. You can see they've pulled out. Basically, if I can continue succeeding with rolls, it's over. But that's never the case. Now the question, of course, is do the English want to try to trump in? Now their odds are worse. We've got almost 50% if they let Montfort roll. And they indeed get a shot to try to crack. They gotta get 5 more points. The banner's back here. There's kind of a room to slip through, but I don't know which choice to take. Gloucester might be the more effective because he has at least 1 knight here. Not sure if Edward has any rallied knights. Yeah, he does. Gloucester took the turn, and some of his cav destroyed another unit. It's down to 3 strength points left to go. The attack on Montfort was mostly successful as well. And the English get to roll for whoever replaced Edward here. And he gets a successful roll, which might be the end of it. It's hard to tell. It just looks like it's going to be really hard to get enough units off the map before a couple more things die. This may be the kill turn here. We got an attack on the flank of a already disordered unit, and then massive attacks against Montfort's own unit. That'll be 4 points if the 2 main units die. Montfort's not likely to go. And let's see, Montfort's cav was defeated. Keep him here. Move this forward instead. However, this attack was not successful. So now I'm going to let Gloucester roll for an activation. Yeah, that's probably game. And this is recovered. That was back in the last turn. We got attacks. I'm going to optimize my chances. I'll keep this like this. Attacks here. So we got cav involved. I guess we don't get the infantry only penalty. So I think we're at +4 for location, no charge. That gives, I think that's all we got. +4 for location. And we get a destruction there. That one's going to be dead. And that's enough to win the game. And now here, just these 2 are involved. That's +1. We're both hitting from the rear. That brings it up to a total of +4. +3, it's an infantry attack, +2. We get a 6. It's not a disrupted unit to begin with, so it's disordered only. And now we check Montfort. He needs a 9, I think, to die. He does not die. But that is the game. His army has failed and collapsed around him. So another one. Again, this one was kind of interesting, actually. I'm kind of pleased with the battles, if not the components, for these Simon Says games. And, you know, if you really want to bring them up to date, you can probably use these same components, how lovely they are, to play a couple of neat little battles under the Men of Iron system still. But to tell you the truth, I'm kind of happy with how light these rules are. I just, well, there are a few things in them that probably make them just a little too weak to actually cope with. And then there's, in the lose battle, and I think in this one as well, there were a couple little places where it felt like there was errata it needed for the setup of the battles. The lose one there definitely was. However, you know, I just extended my line and that worked out fine. I think they're neat games. All right, up this one goes too.